All right, so I wanted to do a little breakdown prediction for the Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dubois fight coming up. Um, I've seen Wardley fight a couple of times. I'm not overly informed on the guy. Like, he's not one of my favorite fighters. I don't dislike him. Daniel Dubois I actually hate. Um, he had the big win over Joshua or whatever, but I just don't really like the way he fights. I don't like the way he acts. I don't like a lot of the things that he says. I don't like his personality. I don't really like anything about the guy, to be completely honest with you. That being said, I'm obviously gonna give an objective of a breakdown as I can. I don't try to break fights down based on who I like. I might tell you I hate a guy, but I think he's gonna win. Um, Daniel Dubois, I tend to not really watch unless he's in a huge fight or he's fighting somebody that I like. So I saw his fight with Joshua because I like Joshua. I saw his fight with both fights with Usyk because I like Usyk. So I mean, I've seen him fight probably more times than I've seen Wardley fight, but between the both of them, I've seen less than 10 fights combined. I was looking at, their height, their weight, shit like that. Very, very similar. Dubois is a little bit heavier. Both of these guys got big knockout power. I mean, again, at the heavyweight division, anybody's liable to get knocked out by anybody. More so than other divisions, I would say. But these are two guys with definite big knockout power. And I honestly right now as I'm talking, I'm not 100% sure of who I would take in this fight for a couple of reasons. Number one, I haven't watched anything. I have some things on my watch later list here on YouTube that I'm gonna watch. Probably the week of the fight or whatever the case is. So I'm gonna have this up way prior to that. So I mean, there could be some things that change in my mind if I see something or whatever prior to the fight, at the weigh-in, something in the build-up, something somebody's doing or saying or whatever the case is, something in training, whatever. But right now, I mean, I'm going off relatively limited knowledge. I've only seen each one of them fight a couple of times, and I know some stuff about them, but I'm not overly informed on these guys. And also because, quite frankly, I'm not overly sold on either of these guys. And what I mean by that is, again, listen, Fabio Wardley had the big win over Joseph Parker in his last fight. Joseph Parker destroyed Deontay Wilder, who I think Wilder's done. The Wilder-Chisora fight was horrible. I got that prediction wrong as far as the way it was going to end. And unfortunately in that fight, I expected to see guys that were relatively a shell of themselves, or at least on the tail end of their career. Wilder actually looked a little better than I expected him to look, and Chisora actually looked a little worse than I expected him to look. That being said, both of the guys are in their 40s, and I did know they were at the tail end of their careers, but I don't know, man. That fight was just not what I expected. It was really sloppy. I really would just like to see both guys retire, honestly. I just don't really think that either one of them are the same anymore. I like Chisora more than I like Wilder. I absolutely hate Wilder, but I really would just like to see both of those guys retire. I told you when I was making the breakdown and the prediction on that fight that I really didn't. I wanted to see the fight because I love fights and I thought it would end violently, but I really didn't like when that fight was made. I thought one of those guys was going to get severely hurt. Listen, I'm glad they both made it out healthy. I thought it was a sloppy, ugly fight. I could have definitely done without it, but Parker made Wilder look really bad in the fight that he had against Wilder, and then Wardley wound up beating Parker. Wasn't a giant fan of the stoppage in the Wardley versus Parker fight because if I remember correctly, I think I had Parker up by a little bit. Don't quote me on this because I could be off by saying this, but I think I had Parker up by a little bit, and it didn't feel like one of those things for me, like with Thurman and Fundora, right? Yeah, I think maybe the ref could have waited another 15 seconds before he stepped in. I don't think that exact moment was a great time to step in. But I think within the next 15 to 30 seconds, the ref was going to have to step in anyway. Thurman didn't look like himself in that fight. Fundora was winning every round. There were plenty of moments in the fight where it was like, oh shit, like this might get stopped. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel like that about Wardley and Parker. I felt like Parker was fighting a pretty good fight. It wasn't like he was winning on points, but then was getting, got dropped 2 times in the round before and then got dropped again in that round, and it was like, all right, I understand he's winning, but he's getting punished right now. I don't think it was a horrible stoppage, but I would have liked to have seen it continue a little bit and see, if Joseph Parker could have turned it back around. I thought Wardley was getting a little bit tired at the time that it was stopped, but again, it's not something that I'm like, man, that was horrible. I can't believe they gave Wardley that fight. I don't think it was a fix or anything like that. So, but the reason for me saying all this is, listen, Joseph Parker's a solid fighter, but to me, there were always a couple of guys who were the clear guys in the heavyweight division. You had Tyson Fury, you had Usyk once Usyk went up there. You had Wilder, and you had Joshua. Those were your 4 guys. Wilder, to me, listen, the guy's got a massive punch. So, he could be 50 years old and hardly able to stand up, and if he connects with you, it's possible that he might knock you unconscious. So I wouldn't ever say that Wilder is 100% out of any fight. But I don't put Wilder in that conversation anymore. Like, I think there's a lot of guys out there that would probably beat Wilder if they fought right now. So I don't keep Wilder up in that 4 separated from everybody else. Usyk's kind of dismantled everybody. He beat Fury twice, he beat Joshua twice. So those 2 guys, it's looking like they're kind of on the outs. I don't think they've looked as bad as Wilder, but, I think Fury and Joshua are kind of on the decline as well. And then you got younger guys like Wardley and Dubois and stuff like that who may still be getting better or may have their better days ahead of them. That being said, Dubois got the big win over Joshua, and Wardley's got a pretty big win over Parker. But again, I don't know that I ever put Parker up in that top 4 tier. So the win over Parker, it's a good win, especially, how Parker looked coming off the fight with Wilder. But again, I think Wilder's out of that top 4 now. I think Wilder's looked pretty bad in his last 3 or 4 fights. So that kind of puts a little bit of an asterisk next to the win that Parker had over Wilder. Maybe made Parker look a little bit better than he actually was. Parker's lost to Joshua. Joshua appears to be on the decline now as well. So it's like, all right, you beat Parker, but how great is Parker? And Dubois beat Joshua, but at this point, I don't know if he's the same Anthony Joshua. So I do think that these are, 2 guys aside from Moses. Obviously, he's, coming with a lot of steam right now. Hasn't necessarily fought the names that these 2 guys have fought, but maybe the better of the 3 guys. But right now I just feel like Usyk stands alone. He's getting up there in age as well, but to me, Usyk stands alone as the top champion, and then you got these 2 or 3 up and coming guys right now that are kind of knocking on the doorstep. But I don't know. I don't think any of these guys really beats Usyk right now unless Usyk kind of gets old overnight and falls off and has a severe decline, which could be coming any day now, or he could be a Bernard Hopkins. He might fight for another 10 years, George Foreman, Bernard Hopkins, and remain a champion well into his 40s. I don't know. Time will tell. But I don't know, man. This one is tough for me. I don't typically tend to do this, but I think I'm going to have to pick with my heart in this one. Again, I'm neither one of these guys is really like my favorite fighter right now, but I fucking hate Dubois. So I think this one's kind of a pick-em. I think it's kind of a 50-50. I think with both guys being big punchers and still probably getting better fight to fight, I think it's it's up in the air who's going to win this fight, especially considering that one guy could probably land a punch and just, end the fight like that. I don't know, man. I was going to say I'm going to pick with my heart and pick Wardley, and then right as I went to say it, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I really am torn on this one, and since I'm so torn, I'm going to just stick with the guy that I'd rather see win, and I'd rather see Fabio Wardley win the fight. So I'm going to pick Fabio Wardley to win the fight by decision. That's going to be my pick. And again, take that with a grain of salt. I don't know too much about either one of these guys. Absolutely hate Dubois. I'm kind of, whatever with Wardley. And I haven't really watched much on the fight. So that's my tentative breakdown and prediction for Wardley versus Dubois. So